it was, I had a first AD, I had a production designer for the first time, I had, 40 people on set and craft. So, this is like, you better be ready.
Yeah.
And you better be ready to talk to Sam Elliott and Blythe Danner and know what you're doing. So, certainly the stakes went up, but my approach and my process to working with actors and having a really relaxed, wonderful time on set did not change.
Yeah.
I tried not to let all that stuff get in the way of, I think, what's really important on set, and that's having everyone have a good time and feel relaxed and that they're in it together. It's a team sport, right? And when you're the director, you have to be the captain of the ship, and you have to treat everyone with respect and equality, and that's really, really important to me. And it's also about creating an environment above all else that's safe for your actors, that's calm. The last thing you want is to have your actors feeling like, it's stressful to make a movie. You don't have much time. We shot this film in 18 days. I don't think we had a day that was over 10 or 11 hours. And that's the way it should be. This should be a fun, good experience for everybody. So I really tried to bring my sensibilities from the new year to this film. And I think that the cast found it really refreshing. I think the crew found it refreshing that it wasn't this like, oh my God, we're all going to die type of mentality, because a lot of people act like that on a film, but it's just a movie. And you've got to understand that to get the best out of people, you should be really good to them and set them up for success. And that goes for the cast and the crew. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of my small-natured thinking really actually paid off with this.
Was this a hard sell to get this done? Because I really, really like this movie.
Thank
How hard
you.
was it?
It was hard. It was hard to get it. With this, the film came together with individual equity. So no production company, no studio, for instance, wanted this film. We pitched the film to a lot of people, and it just wasn't of interest to them. They thought, well, we don't want to see a film. It gets hard to market a film about a 70-year-old woman or what have you. However they wanted to put it, because they just couldn't see it, and I don't blame them. This is a unique film. This is a kind of people have been trying to categorize it, and it's difficult to categorize. Other than I hope it's very authentic and honest and real. Life is funny and sad. So hopefully the movie is funny and sad and has these kind of real, has a flow to it, and the people seem honest and real. That's the goal. So I think people didn't know how to do it. They're like, well, what's the hook? What's the thing that happens? And I'm like, life just happens. So we scraped it together. We did a small Kickstarter campaign just to kind of make it real. It was a small portion of the budget. And then we found the money through up some really brave individuals who believed in me and believed in this film. And Blythe and Martin came on before we even did the Kickstarter. We were just a script at that time. So they were really, important in getting it going. And then we got this wonderful cast, and then everyone went, oh, wait, what? Now everyone's going, what? I call this business the business of gophers. They pop their heads up and they go, what? What? What is it now? So, you've got to get people. You've got to show people what they want, what they're always getting, right? So I'm of the business of saying, let's try something new, and sometimes that takes 5 years to get done.
To follow up with that, talk about moving it from Florida to here. I like that it was moved here.
Yes, I had originally written it for Florida, which I was kind of going to do like an unofficial Florida trilogy, but with the new year in this, and have be all about women of different ages, which I still like that idea. I'm kind of sad that that's gone. But moving it here actually kind of opened it up to a lot of things in terms of, for instance, Blythe's character has her own house while everybody else is in the retirement community still. So when you put yourself into a box where we were like, I can't make LA work, it's not, the retirement communities aren't the way, they're sprawling in Florida, they're on big golf courses and all this. So they're much smaller here, and so I had to really rethink it. Mark Bash and I, my co-writer, we had to, but I think sometimes putting yourself in a box is a really good thing. That's where the best ideas come from, the best creative sort of stuff can come when you're put up against the wall and you're like, well, I've got to figure this out. So a lot of good came from it, and it became less about place. I think LA, we kind of know, I think most people know LA, and Florida was more about place, but I think the movie works better here now. So.
Yeah, Uncle Earl, Art of Montague. I just want to know, how long was the process for research before you actually wrote the script?
We didn't do any research.
You didn't?
No.
Really?
We didn't. No, we just started writing, and I think it comes from, I'm a curious person. I'm also a person that's, I think, very observant. I think most of the time people think I'm staring, and I'm just kind of observing. I'm just kind of taking mental notes of people in the airport, restaurants. I'm always watching. I'm a people watcher. So I think to a large degree, Mark and I came from a place. I think empathy is really powerful. I think if you sit down and you think long enough about somebody else's life and their situation, I think you can kind of piece it together. If you're a person that has, that can think outside of themselves, and I like to think that I am. So I just sat down and thought about this woman. I just thought about it because she was definitely the vessel for the themes that I was exploring in this. If I would have made a movie about life and death and love and loss and told it from my perspective as a 30-year-old guy, I'd be like, screw this movie. It doesn't have the weight of someone who's older. I enjoy writing female characters. I'm just kind of more drawn to them naturally. I just find them more fun to write, frankly. And so when I knew that she was the person, I just started thinking a lot. And Mark and I really worked on it together. But I think there's power in empathy. There's power in just thinking and putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And you don't have to be so barred, boxed in by what quote-unquote research or quote-unquote real life. I think imagination can take you a lot of places.
Well, there were so many levels. I mean, there were intricate details within the characters, each character and their relationships with each other. Were the actors very instrumental in helping you bring that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think if they don't, if Blythe Danner's performance in this film doesn't work, then we don't have a movie, right? She's in every scene. So they're obviously a huge part of bringing your words to life, but you've got to put it on the page. We're not going to attract the level of talent that we did if we had a script that was like, you guys kind of figure it out. So I think that was a big part of it. And obviously when you get Blythe Danner and you get Mary Kay Place and June Squibb and Rhea Perlman, this amazing cast, they bring their own sense of themselves and their character to it, and obviously I think it comes across on screen. I mean, to me, it's number one priority at all times is performance. So I get out of the way. And if you notice in the film, there's not a lot of flash. There's not a lot of, because number one, we didn't have time or money to do a lot of that stuff. But also, it's unnecessary. A great close-up or a great medium shot of Blythe Danner doing her thing is all you really need, I think.
You had a treasure chest.
Now, yeah. Bret, you've got bringing back Rob with your cinematography, and it is absolutely stunning here. What were your considerations with the two of you designing your visual palette, the tonal bandwidth for the film? Because it is very specific, and it's a great juxtaposition to some of the darker thematics that are going on.
Yeah, we wanted the film to feel natural and real, but also beautiful. I mean, we wanted it to have a lightness, and I think also beyond Rob, who did an amazing job, you have Eric Archer, my production designer, who everything you see on camera, that's him. I mean, he's placing all of those plants and colors and the palette, and then Miran, who did my costume design, she brought an amazing, really kind of great. Everybody had their own unique style. We were all very involved in it, the actors and I. So it's a real team effort. Everybody comes together to give a sense of color and palette and how you want this to be lit. And it was always like we want it to be natural, but we also want it to look great.
Talking about bringing.
All right, specific question. When they're doing the karaoke and the song choices, I think We're Alone Now and Cry Me a River. What was the thought process in settling on those two songs? And was there ever a rights issue that you had to consider? Did you incorporate the wants and singing abilities of your?
You go to the actors, right? They're like up there going to be singing. You definitely don't go, hey, you're singing this. I mean, you could, I guess, but I don't do that. So I gave them I sort of said to Blythe, who is a singer, she started as a lounge singer when she was young, and she wanted to be a singer. I said to her, hey, are there any songs that you really like or that you feel comfortable singing, and she brought Cry Me a River to me. She said, oh, how about Cry Me a River? And I said, that's great. So that's how that came about. And then you also have to think about a movie of this size. Music is extremely expensive, the rights, so you can't just be like, I want the Rolling Stones song, I want a Beatle. It's like you can't do that. So I got a list from my music supervisor of some songs that she felt could work, and I think We're Alone Now was on. I just sent the list to Martin and I said, pick a song, and he said, I think We're Alone Now by Tiffany, and I said, great. So that was Martin, and again, it's like
So those were pre-selected for affordability?
Yes, on that list, yeah. I mean, and also, a music supervisor's job is to give you what's affordable, but also what's funny, what's good, what works. So it's not just like, here's some cheap shit you can do. It's like, here's something that is within our means that also I think is good. So Natalie, my music supervisor, really made that good.
And a follow-up question. to direct their actual singing? I mean, did you step in with that at all, or how did you?
Yeah, of course. I mean, if I'm doing my job at all, I'm talking to them at all times and making sure that they're feeling comfortable. I mean, Blythe had to sing that song, poor thing, I think like 15 times. So, I was making sure she was, feeling good about it, and I think there was a real balance of trying to make sure that that song was beautiful, but also, she hasn't sung in front of people in 40 years. She's still got her coat on, like she's scared.
I noticed that, and I was wondering about that choice as well.
That was Blythe's choice.
Okay.
And I didn't want to fight her on it. I felt like, hey, if that's what you feel like she would do, like she still felt guarded and kind of, she's in a total, I mean, she hasn't been in a bar probably in 40 years. She hasn't certainly been in a bar with a 30-year-old guy ever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I think she's, I do that when I go into a place and I walk in, I've got my jacket on and I'm kind of like still feeling it out. So she made that decision and I backed her up.
I still love the relationship between Lloyd and Carol. Did you spend a lot of time thinking about like, well, how far do we take this? What's the audience going to think?
Yeah, I mean, the expectations are there. Audiences are going to bring that expectation to the table no matter what, because you've got a relationship between a straight male and a straight woman, and that's just automatically what people think. Oh, are they? So I think we definitely were thinking, how far do we take this? There was never a question. There was never a moment where I was like, oh, it's romantic.
It's not that movie.
No, it's not that movie. It's not Harold and Maude, which is fine. I think that's been done well, and I don't want to repeat it. And I think there's something really refreshing about a unique, wonderful friendship between a man and a woman that has nothing to do with sexuality.
It was mature.
Yes, it was mature and real, and they do love each other. It is sort of like a really important, to me it's the heart of the film, and so you are walking a line. I think this whole movie walks a line. It's like you want it to be honest, real, deal with some dark issues, also be entertaining, fun, exciting, but you don't want it to go into, sort of the pandering, broad Hollywood territory that I think has been stomped on a lot in this genre, if you want to call it that. You also don't want it to be too bleak and unwatchable. You want to find that balance. So I think that came across with the relationship too. We wanted to kind of play with that a little bit because I think naturally they're both very attractive people. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say, I think Lloyd at one point considers it. I don't think she ever really does.
I mean, he's going, she's a beautiful woman and I like her. And I mean, for a second, I think you feel that with any relationship. You're like, that's kind of just what a human approach to it is. So we tried to, again, authenticity was important. I think if they'd ever went into that direction, the audience would just be like, oh. They'd really shake their heads.
So when you got Sam Elliott, what did that do for you? Just your personal thoughts. How did this heighten everything?
I mean, it made me an extremely excited director. Sam Elliott is very picky. Sam does not do movies for money. He's not interested in it. And he's told me I do movies only if I really, really want to do them. So when he was my first choice and we went out to him and then he said yes, I was blown away. I was like, oh, holy shit, Sam Elliott's going to be in my movie. And he is, he just brings something so unique and so special to that role. That role, I think, it was good on the page, but he made it his own. It just brought so much to it. So I think you kind of know you're going to get that voice and that mustache. And
So when he first showed up on set, what was the reaction of all the ladies?
Well, everybody on my set loved Sam, definitely, and I don't blame them. I love Sam, and we're really close, and trust me, people respond to him. He's an extremely sexy guy.
Bret, how important is it that you are also editing your own work? How does that play into the directorial mix when you are shooting, when you are designing your shots? Are you editing in your mind on the fly? Are you editing as you go? Or is there still a lot to do in post?
There's always a lot to do in post, but I think there's a good sense that you can do a scene and maybe someone who doesn't have as much editing experience as me can go like, oh, well, I don't know if I have it or not, and I think I have the ability to go like, okay, I got it, we're good, let's go. Because you don't have time to second guess yourself, you don't have time to not be anything other than extremely decisive on set. That's like crucial on a movie of this size and on this schedule. So for me it was a great thing to have in my back pocket where I could go, well, I can cut to that and then, okay, we're good, let's move on. So that helped. I wasn't editing as I go along, I was just too tired. I was you know, on the weekends, Rob and I were working on what we were shooting that next week, you know, so like I didn't have time to do that. So it all came together for me after, and I went on to another job. Like right after this, I had to go make some money, guys, to be frank. So I went and worked on this TV show for a while, and then came back, and then I was like kind of fresh to it. It all was like kind of new to me. So I watched all the footage and just started from a really fresh place. And you just got to be really brave. You got to put on a different hat. Your director and writer hat, they're done for the most part. And when you're editing, it's a different thing. You've got to take your pride and this idea of attachment to certain themes and certain scenes that you're really like, oh, I can't live without this scene. It's all got to go. you got to.
And dealing with the time constraints that you had, and that life was like in every episode, you know, in every shot. How did they deal with it? I mean, they're older. I mean, how did that? Did you
I mean, it was certainly a fear, I think, for everybody involved. That, oh boy, are we going to be able to get through this? But again, you have to be observant. You have to know how your actors are feeling. They're going to let you know. And it's like if I push them too much, they're gonna say, look, dude, I need to, you know. So you never want that moment.
Right.
You never want the moment where the actor says, hey, like, leave me alone. I need to go away or whatever, and then everybody's going, ooh, I saw that, and you know, and that kind of stuff happens. So you have to be, I think for me as a director, it comes down to observing the people around you, from the key grip to Blythe Danner, and how everybody's feeling, and how hard you push, or how much you kind of ease off of them. There's a real balance there that you've got to find. So I think I was just very aware of seeing how they were feeling, talking to them, asking, how are you feeling? Things like that, not just being obsessed with, I'm doing this shot over here and I need her now. I would come to her and I would say, hey, are you feeling good? Do you need something? Do you need this? Do you want some more time? It's about taking that time and putting them first. Again, it's all about them. It should be. And, you know, I think you just have to be observant and aware of pushing them too far. They are so game. I mean, everybody wanted to be there.
Yeah.
And actually, it's kind of rare for a movie. So I think a lot of times people are on a movie for money or for whatever, you know, and that's just part of this business. You gotta work. You gotta make a living. So I totally get it. I don't judge actors for having to do jobs they don't want to do. This is a really tough business, and this was just one of those rare things that everyone was there because they wanted to be there. They certainly weren't there for the paychecks.
Through the process.